They were side by side again, Meghan Markle poised, Prince Harry steady, until a tiny moment flipped the room. A step forward, a light tap, a half beat of hesitation. That's all it took. Cameras kept rolling, the crowd kept smiling, but online, the replay button never got a rest. What some called a harmless handoff, others labeled a power move. Meghan reaches, Harry holds. The pause lands like a question. Was it timing? Was it tone? Or was it the first unpolished glimpse of a couple who usually keep the edges smoothed out? The clip didn't give answers, just more angles to argue about. And that's why it stuck. Because when Harry and Meghan move, people read meaning into inches. One small beat on stage became a headline in itself, a Rorschach test for anyone convinced they already know who leads and who follows. If a tap can trigger 1,000 takes, what happens when we look at the bigger picture? One tap, one pause, then Meghan Markle and Prince Harry froze in that tiny pocket of time the internet loves. Meghan stepped in with confidence. Harry kept the mic with calm resistance. No argument, no scene, just a flicker of hesitation that read louder than any speech. Viewers ran it back again and again. Some said Meghan tried to take control. Others said Harry held the moment he'd earned. The angle changed, the storyline didn't. Meghan reaching forward, Harry holding a line, a silent negotiation unfolding in public. That's why it hit so hard. With Harry and Meghan, inches matter. A glance feels like a headline. A tap becomes a narrative. People saw a polished team suddenly look human. Two strong personalities deciding who leads in real time. No script, no buffer, just Meghan and Harry in the raw. But that wasn't the whole story. If a split second can spark this much debate, what happens when we trace the earlier beats that made this moment feel familiar? Meghan and Harry have history on stage, and that history is where the pattern talk begins. If the clip felt familiar, that's because Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have lived through micro moments like this before, little beats that get looped, labeled, and turned into a storyline. A half step in front, a hand extended, a shared look that lasts a breath too long. Each time, watchers decide who's steering and who's stalling. It doesn't take a speech. With Meghan and Harry, a glance is enough. Fans who follow Harry and Meghan closely keep mental highlight reels. They remember the confident reach, the courteous hold, the polite reset. To some, Meghan looks like the strategist keeping things on pace. To others, Harry looks like the anchor refusing to rush. Same moment, two readings. That split screen is why these clips stick. Meghan brings forward energy, Harry brings measured calm, and together they create tension you can't scroll past. Over time, those tiny beats turn into evidence. People stitch them together and call it a pattern. Meghan steps in, Harry resists. Both recalibrate. It's tidy, it's viral, and it feels persuasive, until you remember the camera loves certainty more than context. Still, the perception lands. With Harry and Meghan, the public sees rhythm as hierarchy. When the rhythm slips, the hierarchy becomes the headline. And that's the hook pulling us forward. If familiar beats can shape a narrative, what do they say about Meghan's style and Harry's? The answer lives in how both approach the spotlight, one with precision, the other with pulse. Ask 10 viewers and you'll hear two stories. Meghan Markle as the architect, Prince Harry as the instinct. In one, Meghan sets tempo, precise, curated, always a half step ahead. In the other, Harry favors feel, looser, slower, more in the moment. Same couple, different lenses. That's why a tiny pause between Meghan and Harry plays like a full debate about who leads. Supporters see Meghan protecting the message. They praise the way Meghan keeps lines clean, moments tight, optics intentional. Critics flip it. They say Meghan over-directs while Harry swallows words. On the flip side, admirers read Harry's hesitations as thoughtfulness, a man choosing care over speed. Detractors claim Harry looks uncertain. Everyone projects. Meghan becomes strategy made visible. Harry becomes emotion in real time. When those styles meet on stage, the chemistry can dazzle. Meghan driving clarity, Harry grounding tone. But when timing slips, it sparks speculation. Did Meghan jump the cue, or did Harry hold it too long? Was Meghan saving the flow, or was Harry reclaiming space? The truth is usually mundane, the read is rarely so, because with Harry and Meghan, a breath becomes a broadcast. And that's the engine of this storyline. The more distinct Meghan and Harry appear, the more every glance feels like a choice. Which raises the real question: how do tiny gestures become major headlines? And who benefits when they do? A tap, a glance, a half step. When it's Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, those crumbs get baked into a feast. The reason is simple. Short clips travel faster than context. A 3-second moment with Meghan reaching and Harry pausing fits neatly into a loop, a meme, a caption that declares certainty where there was only timing. Ambiguity is gasoline. The algorithm is a match. Whole cottage industries form around these flashes. A creator freezes Meghan mid-reach, circles Harry's eyes, and calls it power dynamics. Another reframes it as teamwork. Meghan protecting flow while Harry keeps the mic until he raps. Each reading attracts its own crowd, its own comments, its own momentum. By sundown, the meaning of Meghan and Harry has been decided a dozen different ways, and each version feels definitive because the clip repeats until emotion hardens into belief. The paradox is that Harry and Meghan helped train the audience to care. They've been candid before, so viewers expect subtext now. When Meghan leans in, it can read as leadership or overreach. When Harry hesitates, it can read as composure or retreat. The same two faces, the same two hands, become a Rorschach people swear is proof. In reality, it's editing speed, caption tone, and audience bias doing most of the heavy lifting. And that's where stakes creep in. If a 3-second beat can crown Meghan the director or cast Harry as the holdout, then one event can tilt a week of headlines, which pushes Harry and Meghan toward tighter choreography. And ironically, that tighter choreography becomes the next critique. So what happens when image isn't just optics but livelihood? That's where the brand pressure starts to bite. For Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, a moment on stage isn't just optics, it's inventory. The projects, the partnerships, the interviews, the documentaries, everything runs on perception. If Meghan looks like the conductor, she's judged for control. If Harry looks like the holdout, he's judged for doubt. That's the trap. Public image funds the mission, and the mission reshapes the image. Brand math is ruthless. Clips that flatter get folded into highlight reels. Clips that wobble get weaponized. Meghan knows this. That's why her timing feels precise and her tone measured. Harry knows it too. That's why his pauses feel intentional. But when a 3-second beat mutates into a week-long narrative, both pay a toll. Meghan gets labeled intense. Harry gets labeled withdrawn. Neither label sells the nuance they actually live. So the instinct is to choreograph tighter. Fewer surprises, cleaner handoffs, clearer cues. Meghan and Harry move like a brand that can't afford another ambiguous beat. But that neatness has a cost. It drains the very spontaneity that made Harry and Meghan compelling. The audience that once praised candor now critiques curation, and the fix becomes the flaw. That's the pressure point. If Meghan leans further into control, headlines say she's steering too hard. If Harry leans further into space, headlines say he's drifting. Either way, it's a ledger that never settles. Which is why whispers about separate lanes keep surfacing. Joint when it helps, solo when it fits. Rumor or not, the logic is obvious. Give Meghan room to marshal. Give Harry room to breathe. The rumor mill loves clean lines. Meghan Markle takes the helm. Prince Harry drifts to his own lane. Reality is murkier. Some weeks, Meghan is everywhere. Polished, precise, announcing the next initiative like a metronome. Other weeks, Harry pops up alone, meeting with veterans, pushing a cause that predates the spotlight. Viewers read separation into the calendar, but calendars are blunt instruments. A solo appearance doesn't equal a solo life. Still, the optics carry weight. When Meghan stands center frame without Harry, she's painted as the driver. When Harry shows up without Meghan, he's framed as reclaiming space. It's a tidy narrative that flatters both camps. Meghan as the strategist executing a plan. Harry as the original mission returning to form. The catch? Both stories can be true and incomplete. Joint brands require solo legs. Separate lanes don't always mean separate destinations. This is where perception hardens. Fans champion Meghan for building structure. They champion Harry for guarding authenticity. Critics invert the praise and call it control versus caution. In the noise, the obvious gets lost. Bandwidth. Sometimes Meghan carries the rollout while Harry lands the message later. Sometimes Harry tests something quietly and Meghan scales it when it works. That's not a fracture, that's a workflow. Less romantic, more effective, and far easier to misread in a 3-second clip. But the machine doesn't care about nuance. It wants a headline, which means every solo beat from Harry and every focused push from Meghan will keep feeding the same debate. Independence or imbalance? The truth rarely fits a caption, and that's exactly why the next chapter matters. Because the audience isn't just watching Meghan and Harry, it's participating. The parasocial loop is the real power source here, and once it spins up, even silence starts to sound like a statement. The bond between audience and story is no longer passive. With Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, viewers don't just watch, they co-author. A clip lands, comments pile up, and suddenly, Meghan and Harry are living inside a million unpaid editorials. That's the parasocial loop. People feel close enough to judge intentions, far enough to ignore context. It's intimacy without accountability, and it turns seconds into sagas. Past openness fuels present scrutiny. Meghan and Harry invited the world into their narrative before, so now every pause feels like a callback, every smile like a footnote. Supporters defend Meghan as a woman who refuses to shrink. Supporters defend Harry as a man guarding his center. Detractors flip the script and claim the opposite. Either way, Meghan and Harry are the mirror. People see what they're primed to see. The platforms reward certainty. A frame of Meghan leaning forward becomes proof. A breath from Harry becomes signal. Nuance doesn't trend, confidence does. So the bold take wins, and the careful take gets buried. That leaves Meghan and Harry reacting to echo, not evidence. Tighten the choreography, and critics say it's overproduced. Loosen it, and critics say it's unraveling. Heads they lose, tails they lose differently. And yet, the fascination persists, because it's not just celebrity. It's a live test of power, partnership, and poise. Meghan represents velocity. Harry represents gravity. Together, they orbit something bigger than a headline. The question is whether they keep flying in formation or chart distinct paths that still point to the same destination. That choice is the hinge, and it sets up what comes next. The next phase won't be fireworks, it'll be adjustments. Expect Meghan Markle to keep sharpening cadence, clearer cues, tighter beats, fewer ambiguous handoffs. Expect Prince Harry to guard breathing room, more measured pacing, a steadier mic, moments that feel lived in, not staged. If Meghan is velocity and Harry is gravity, the path forward is orbit, not collision. We'll likely see small, telling shifts. When Meghan runs point, Harry adds tone instead of tempo. When Harry leads, Meghan expands the frame instead of steering the sentence. It's choreography with a purpose. Prevent another 3-second Rorschach while keeping space for the unplanned sparks that made Harry and Meghan compelling in the first place. If that balance lands, the headline changes from "who's in charge" to "look how they switch gears." There's also a practical route, distinct lanes under one banner. Meghan can scale the brand-building pieces that reward structure. Harry can advance legacy causes that reward presence. Then they meet at the intersections that truly matter. Milestones, big launches, moments that benefit from both precision and pulse. That isn't retreat, it's design. It lets Meghan be unmistakably Meghan and Harry be unmistakably Harry, without asking either to flatten out. And if they miss a step, that's data, not doom. The clip will trend, the takes will roar, and then Meghan and Harry will tune timing again. The audience will keep reading intent into inches. The trick is to give them inches worth reading, beats that look like partnership, not tug-of-war. When viewers feel that sync, the algorithm's appetite turns from conflict to craft. It started with a tap, Meghan Markle reaching forward, Prince Harry holding steady, a breath that split the room. Since then, 1,000 edits tried to lock them into roles. Meghan as command, Harry as restraint. But the fuller story is a moving target. Meghan protects the message, Harry protects the moment. Together, they're trying to protect the mission, The route out of the loop isn't silence, it's smarter rhythm. Let Meghan do what she does best: clarity, cadence, intention. Let Harry do what he does best: presence, weight, heart. If the next rounds show that handoff cleanly, the narrative shifts from power struggle to power duet. That's the hinge, not a dramatic break, just a recalibration in plain sight. In the end, the world will still pause the video and argue the inches. But if Meghan and Harry reclaim the beat, if they choose sync over spectacle, those inches read differently. Less like a contest, more like a craft. And that's a story even a 3-second clip can't twist.